Hey guys, Ace Trainer Liam here. Welcome back to another episode of MetroMania, the series where we take 16 teams of Pokemon, they duke it out in metronome double battles to determine who's going to be the MetroMania champion. This season's been all about Pokemon tag teams, whether they be branched evolutions or version exclusive Pokemon, or even rivals in the case of Heatmore and Durant. We've had so much fun with all these different tag team Pokemon duos. If you're a fan of MetroMania already and you're ready for more action, make sure you hit the like button. Let's go for 1,000 likes if we can, and hit subscribe if you're new so you never miss a piece of the action. And of course, don't forget, use code ACE to save yourself some money on G Fuel. I'm drinking hydration today, which is caffeine free because I just need to hydrate a little bit dehydrated, a little bit headachy, and this Blue Rocket Pop hydration is going to help me out massively. You can use code ACE to save yourself some money on G Fuel when you check out. Oh, and it's bloody tasty as well. The heats are finally over. We are in the quarterfinals now. The semi-finals are going to start taking shape from today. But of course, before we get into the action, let's have a look at those all-important brackets.
In the last episode of MetroMania, we said so long to, surprisingly, Slurpuff and Aromatisse. Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan escaped with what must be the upset of the century, taking down the Fairy-type duo, moving on to the quarterfinals to take on a Selgor and a Scavalier. Of course, the quarterfinals begin today with Cofagrigus and Runerigus taking on the duo of Glalie and Froslass. So the quarterfinals of MetroMania Season 8 are finally underway as we have the team of Cofagrigus and Runerigus taking on Froslass and Glalie. Who will move on to be our first Season 8 semi-finalist? That's what we're here to find out. If you haven't already hit the like button on this video, you can go ahead and do that right now and give us your predictions for who you think's going to win. Here's a Bug Buzz from Froslass to start off, which is going to be resisted by the Ghost-type Cofagrigus. They're not very effective, still did decent damage though. Over to Glalie for the next move of this Metronome battle, who's going to go for Gear Grind. Onto which of these Pokemon? It's going to be on Runerigus, which isn't going to do much damage at all, but will swap over the Inner Focus ability in exchange for Wandering Spirit. So now there'll be no flinching from Runerigus because of Inner Focus that it now has. There's two hits from the two light hits there from the Gear Grind. Over to Runerigus to go for Surf, which is going to damage its partner Pokemon in the form of Cofagrigus, so not the wisest of ideas there. But of course, Runerigus isn't much of a special attacker. It's more of a physical attacker compared to Cofagrigus, so not too much damage dealt there. Here's a Metal Claw, which will be super effective from Cofagrigus onto Glalie. I bet it would have wished that Runerigus had used that, but now Wandering Spirit moves over to Cofagrigus, and now Mummy moves over to Glalie. This is going to be a nightmare because of these two Ghost-type Pokemon's abilities. What's up next is Froslass, and what will it do here? What's on its mind? It's going to go for Guillotine. It really wants to take things to a higher gear, but of course it doesn't affect the Ghost-type Pokemon. Here we see Bubble Beam, which if it's on Runerigus will be super effective, but it's not. It's on Cofagrigus, that Bubble Beam from Glalie, so not going to do as much devastating damage as it may have wanted to do. And now here's Runerigus, who is going to go for an Earthquake. Again, that's going to damage its partner, and that is a physical attack, so that could be a problem for Runerigus there. All three other Pokemon other than Runerigus are now in the yellow. Glalie, Froslass, and Cofagrigus. Cofagrigus is going to go topsy-turvy. That is going to fail, unfortunately. I believe that's stat change related, and there's no stat changes as far as I'm aware. I can't think of anyone's stat changes right now. Here's Froslass, though, who's fired up and ready. What will it do? It's going to go for Future Sight. Not a bad play there. Give them something to worry about. Give them something that makes them go, you know what, I should probably deal with you pretty soon. Here's Glalie, though. What's Glalie going to do here? Glalie will go for Fusion Flare. My word. Which Pokemon is that going to be? It's going to be on Runerigus from the looks of it. How much damage will that do? Not a great deal of damage, but then Cofagrigus and Runerigus both have defense, physical defense of 145 base. Here we see Frenzy Plant from Cofagrigus, which will be on the, onto the Glalie there, taking out the Glalie. Of course, Cofagrigus will need to recharge next turn, so that does give an opening to Froslass, but it's going to be a bit difficult for Froslass. It needs to bust out those special attacks, to be honest. Here's Extreme Speed. Doesn't affect Froslass. Everyone's a Ghost type on this field right now, so that means that nobody is going to get hit by normal or fighting type moves. Here we see a Froslass going for Moonblast onto which of these Pokemon? It's going to be on Runerigus there. How much damage will that do? It did a decent amount of damage, but still, you know, these Pokemon both have 105 special defense. They're very bulky Pokemon. And here is Runerigus firing back with Venom Drench, which will fail. And this could go either way. I'm worried for Froslass in this round because it is against two, monolithic Pokemon Pokemon. Here we see a Rock Smash from Froslass, doesn't affect Cofagrigus. Now over to Cofagrigus to see if it can capitalize on that error. It's going to go for Water Pledge. How much damage will that really do, though, coming from Cofagrigus? Although Cofagrigus is the special attacker, so actually quite a bit of damage there. It's Runerigus that would have had the problem. Speaking of which, here is Runerigus with Wish, trying to get some of its HP back, maybe in the next couple of turns if it survives long enough, but not a bad play at all there by Runerigus. And here's the Future Sight attack we talked about earlier on Cofagrigus, bringing it down to 7 hit points, very much in the danger zone. Froslass could turn this one around and could claim that first round victory. What's it going to do here? This next move could be critical. Going to go for Body Slam, doesn't affect Runerigus, so that is a wasted turn once again. This gives the near-death Cofagrigus time to capitalize. Goes for Seed Bomb. You've got to think that's going to bring Froslass close to being knocked out, and there's the knockout. The first round goes to Cofagrigus and Runerigus. So now we've got Glalie and Froslass on the defensive right now. They need to equalize. They need to do something. Otherwise, the third round will be for pride. Remember, I know some of you guys still don't get that we do 3 rounds every time this time. So if you lose in the second round because you get 2-0'd, then we go for pride in the third round. Hopefully that won't come to that, though, because we do like a nice balanced competition on Metromania. Here's Tearful Look from Froslass onto Cofagrigus, which is going to drop its attack and its special attack by 1 stage apiece. And now over to Glalie, the well-rounded machine with its very even stats, all base 80, and that does not affect Runerigus. So unfortunate move for Glalie there, you know. Completely pointless, your base stats, if you don't hit a move. That pound will not affect Froslass there. And over to Head Smash. Oh, that's not good. Cofagrigus going for Head Smash onto Froslass there for massive damage. Of course, it should have some recoil damage there as well. So Froslass taking the brunt of that, but Cofagrigus damaging itself quite a bit as well. It's over to Froslass once again, as it's the fastest thing on the field to start off the next turn, and it's going to go for Energy Ball, which if it's on Runerigus, that would be detrimental, but it's on Cofagrigus, so Cofagrigus takes a little bit of damage there, gets the special defense drop, which will be helpful to Froslass and Glalie, but it would have been more effective on Runerigus, who's weak to grass. We see Slash coming out from Glalie, doesn't affect Runerigus. Glalie has not yet moved properly in this particular round. Here's a Bubble Beam from Cofagrigus onto Glalie. Turnabout is fair play, I suppose. Glalie was busting out the Bubble Beam in the previous round. Doesn't do a great deal of damage there, but it's still chipping away at Glalie, who hasn't mounted any offense yet. Here's Surf once again from Runerigus. This Runerigus loves to turn itself into a big stone surfboard, and it deals a bunch of damage to Cofagrigus, little bit to Froslass, little bit to Glalie, just chip damage all round for both its ally and both its opponents there. Now it's over to Froslass to see if it can try and mount some kind of offense here. Can it do anything? Goes for Defense Curl, trying to protect itself, I guess, against the physical attacks of Runerigus, but it's not. You need to be on the offensive, really. If I'm Froslass and Glalie right now, you want to be on the offensive. That's the best way to go. Here's a Growl from Glalie, again dropping the attack stat of both the opponents 1 stage. Again, that will protect Froslass, because now when the -1 attack Pokemon are hitting Froslass, who's +1 defense, it's kind of like Froslass has got +2 defense, that kind of thing. Here's Magical Leaf, though, from Cofagrigus, which will not miss onto Froslass for a good chunk of damage there. Froslass is getting close to the danger zone. Increasing the defense ain't going to be that effective as a special attack just knocks it out. Here's a Jaw Lock from Runerigus onto Glalie there. That would have been super effective on Froslass, so it's lucky that Glalie took the brunt of that. But Glalie and Froslass are not looking particularly golden right now. Now here comes Froslass. It needs to do something if it wants to stay in this competition. It's going for Zen Headbutt. Of course, physical attacks are not really its wheelhouse, so it does a bit of chip damage there to Runerigus, accepts the Wandering Spirit ability, and gives the Snow Cloak ability to Runerigus. Don't know if that's particularly going to help Froslass or not. Getting rid of Snow Cloak I don't think would particularly help. Was Wandering Spirit really going to help? I don't know. Glalie fails to use a move once again. Here's an Earthquake from Cofagrigus, though. That's going to deal some damage to both Runerigus and Glalie. Not a lot to Froslass, though, surprisingly, because of those stat changes from earlier in this battle. It certainly looks like Froslass and Glalie are on the ropes, though, right now. Runerigus sitting pretty with the only one on the field with green HP. And here's Froslass with a Fire Punch on which Pokemon? Again, Froslass not so good at the physical hits, though, so it doesn't deal too much damage at all to Runerigus there. Over to Glalie to see if it can do something in this battle. Goes for Fling. That's going to fail. How many moves has Glalie failed so far in just this round alone? Is anyone keeping track? Here's a Smack Punch from which would have been super effective on Glalie, but did not affect Froslass because of the ghost typing. Here's Runerigus with Torment, which means that Froslass can't use Metronome on alternate turns, so it will have to struggle on alternate turns until that Torment wears off, which is devastating for Froslass and Glalie right now. Froslass has no moves left. It's going to go for the struggle, which is going to deal a tiny bit of damage to Runerigus, but is going to take Froslass out of contention right now. So it's all up to Glalie, and I just don't know if Glalie has it in it. It's not been very effective at all in this particular round. It's going for Fly, which I guess keeps it out of harm's way because its opponents will both attack now while Glalie's in the air. So unless they use something that actually hits a flying Pokemon, which is very, very rare, we see Soak coming out. That's going to be avoided by Glalie. Now here comes Cofagrigus. What will Cofagrigus do here? It's going to go for Sunny Day. Now that's interesting because that will increase the power of Fire-type moves. And of course, what's Glalie weak to? It's Fire-type moves, so that doesn't bode well for Glalie, but I want to see which of these two Pokemon Glalie attacks with this Fly that it's about to dish out. It's going to be on which of the Pokemon there? It's going to be on Cofagrigus for a great chunk of damage there, but not quite enough. Swapping out Inner Focus for Mummy, which is not good because that means that... Glalie can now be made to flinch, although it doesn't really matter unless Trick Room comes into effect or something. Memento from Runerigus. I don't know how wise that is, but Runerigus is going to lower Glalie's attack and special attack in order... I mean, it is 2 stages apiece, but also at the cost of its own fainting. That's probably not the wisest of decisions there. But here comes Cofagrigus, probably quite confident that Glalie is sufficiently crippled right now. Goes for entrainment. It fails, of course, because both these Pokemon have the Mummy ability right now. But this has actually put Glalie in the driver's seat. It may not have a lot of attack power, but it doesn't have many hit points to take off Runerigus here. So it goes for Bulldoze, which will, if it doesn't knock Cofagrigus out, it will lower the speed of Cofagrigus at least, which, you know, at this point, Glalie's faster than Cofagrigus anyway, so no biggie there. Here comes Cofagrigus, though, with 21 hit points left. It's going to go for Burn Up, but it fails because it's not got the fire typing. Very, very unfortunate there. Very lucky for Glalie because Burn Up from a fire type in the sun would have been devastating to Glalie. Here's a Power Whip from Glalie, though. How much damage is that going to do at -2 attack? It's not quite enough to take down Cofagrigus. Cofagrigus has an opportunity to end this right now and go straight to the semifinals. It goes for Retaliate. How much is this going to do? To Glalie, barely anything. That was tragic. That wasn't particularly interesting at all, was it? Barely any damage. If you blink, you'd miss it. Here's Double Edge from Glalie, though. Doesn't affect Cofagrigus, giving Cofagrigus yet another opening to attack. What will Cofagrigus do? Goes for Tail Slap, avoided by Glalie. The sunlight is gone, so Glalie doesn't have to worry as much about fire-type moves. Also, any water-type moves that get used are now no longer reduced in damage. Here's Glalie, though. What will it do here? It's going for Tearful Look. It's not even going on the offense. Glalie is making a lot of mistakes in this particular round of Metromania. What's it gonna do? Cofagrigus' attack and special attack are down 1 stage apiece. Here is Cofagrigus firing back with Cotton Spore, which is gonna slow down Glalie. That'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see because Cofagrigus is -1 speed, but now Glalie's -2 speed. I still think Glalie would probably be faster because it's base 80 speed, whereas Cofagrigus is base 30. Glalie, of course, they're proving it is faster of the two. Goes for Grassy Terrain, which is going to do nothing but heal itself and its opponent. I don't know if that was the wisest... I've said that quite a bit during this particular Metromania. I don't know if it's the wisest move. Cofagrigus has another opening to attack, all thanks to Glalie. Here's Fairy Wind from Cofagrigus. How much damage will that do to Glalie? Barely anything. Glalie is tanking everything right now. There's the Grassy Terrain, completely nullifying that Fairy Wind, but there's Cofagrigus getting some HP back. It may only be 8 hit points, but it's still 8 more hit points than it had at the start of the turn, thanks to Glalie. Speaking of which, here comes Glalie, who is going to go for a Flower Shield that's going to fail. This is terrible. This is embarrassing for Glalie right now. Here's Confide from Cofagrigus. I don't want to talk bad about any of the competitors in Metromania, but Glalie is completely off its game today right now. Special attack has dropped on Glalie because of that Confide. There's the Grassy Terrain restoring its HP and restoring Cofagrigus' HP. Cofagrigus is slowly but surely regaining its health, giving it that little bit more staying power. Here's Glalie, though, who is going to go for a Future Sight. Now, that's interesting because that will hit in a couple of turns' time. And how much damage is that going to do to Cofagrigus? But Cofagrigus has plenty of opportunities to take out Glalie before that happens. It's going to go for Octazooka, which is going to land on Glalie there. Barely any damage, though. And there, it doesn't even get the accuracy drop. There's the HP restoring power of the Grassy Terrain, helping both these Pokemon here. but the Future Sight attack is pending. It is looming overhead. Here comes Glalie, though. What will Glalie do here? Anything? It goes for Soak, changing Cofagrigus to a water type. I don't know if that's going to make much of a difference in this battle, but Cofagrigus now has a chance. It has another chance to take down Glalie. It's going to go for Tackle, which won't do a great deal of damage, but it's still chipping away. Of course, that Future Sight attack is coming up soon. There's the HP again, restored by the grassy terrain on both these Pokemon. Cofagrigus is now out of the danger zone, sitting in the yellow, which is going to help it when it finally takes that Future Sight attack, help it not take as much damage from it. Here's Glalie with X-Scissor, though, not going to be very effective on Cofagrigus. It did quite a bit of damage, though. It did, I think it did about 8 damage there, potentially. And here's Heat Wave, though, from Cofagrigus. Oh, my word, how much damage is this going to do? That's super effective on Glalie. Huge damage, putting Glalie in the danger zone. Not enough to take it down. Here's the Future Sight attack that Glalie set up earlier. Not quite enough to take down Cofagrigus. Cofagrigus lives on 3 hit points. You've got to say, thanks to the grassy terrain that Glalie originally set up, which now disappears. Cofagrigus is sitting on 11 hit points. Glalie is still in this somehow, some way. It's still fighting, but Cofagrigus is still surviving. Here's Charge Beam from Glalie. It only needs to take down 11 hit points from Cofagrigus, and it does because it changed Cofagrigus to a water type, so it's super effective. Amazing stuff. So Froslass and Glalie survive by a hair. Glalie redeeming itself. Now it is 1 apiece, and someone's going to the semi-finals, but there's no way to tell who right now. It could be either of these teams, but Glalie hopefully has got its head screwed on, although it is just a head, so maybe it doesn't need to be screwed onto anything. Here's a smoke screen from Froslass, reducing the accuracy of Runerigus from the out. That's probably a great idea to protect both Froslass and Glalie. Here comes Glalie as well with Baton Pass. That is going to fail. Glalie's gone back to his old tricks again. Here's Cofagrigus. What will Cofagrigus do to start off the 3rd round? Goes for Dragon Claw. It means business. It's going straight on the offensive onto Froslass, taking a decent chunk of Froslass's HP away right there. And here comes Runerigus, who's going to go Hyper Beam, but it's avoided by Glalie. Glalie does not take the attack thanks to that accuracy drop from the smoke screen at the start of this battle. Now Froslass has an opening, and what is it going to do? It's going to go for Jaw Lock, which will be super effective on either of these Pokemon because it's Dark type. Massive damage to Cofagrigus there. The Mummy ability swapping Froslass's Snow Cloak to Mummy, though, so Froslass no longer has the Snow Cloak ability. Here comes Glalie. What will Glalie do in response? Going to go for Anchor Shot, which is going to be a great move right there. Look how beautiful this move is. One of the best animations in the game. Great chunk of damage there to Cofagrigus. No more inner focus for Glalie, so 3 of the Pokemon on this field have Mummy now. It's just Wandering Spirit from Runerigus that is left over. And here's Body Slam from Cofagrigus onto Glalie there. Will it get the paralysis? It does get the paralysis, which is great for the Ghost type team right there. Over to Runerigus. How's it going to capitalize here? It's going to go for Disarming Voice, which I believe will hit both Pokemon. Yes, it will. It's going to hit both Froslass and Glalie for a little bit of chip damage there. Not a great deal, but still Cofagrigus and Runerigus showing signs of unity here, showing signs of being a well-oiled machine. Here's Froslass, though, arguably probably the MVP of its team, going for Aurora Veil, but there's no hail in effect, so that's unfortunate. Wasted turn for Froslass. And here is Cofagrigus, who's going to go for Minimize, increase its evasiveness, which is not a bad shout at all there. If your partner's accuracy is lowered, make it harder for the other team to hit you by raising your evasiveness by 2 stages. That's a great play there by Cofagrigus. Over to Glalie for a Flamethrower. Which Pokemon's it going to be on? It's going to be on Runerigus there for a nice chunk of damage. That was a great deal of damage there. And now Runerigus gets to fire back. Is it going to go for Vengeance on Glalie? Goes for Blast Burn. I mean, if you're going to go for Vengeance, definitely fight fire with fire. My word. Blast Burn dealing incredible damage to Glalie. Of course, Runerigus will have to recharge next turn, but I guess it probably would have missed its next move anyway, to be fair, with that accuracy drop. Here's Dragon Tail from Froslass onto Cofagrigus there, bringing Cofagrigus down to less than half its max HP, and Cofagrigus is probably salivating at the chance to fire back. Goes for Confuse Ray onto the Froslass there. Of course, that's a great play. Confuse the Pokemon that has more HP, so that Pokemon can potentially whittle its own HP down, whereas you then focus on Glalie and deal with it and take it down while it's on the ropes. Here's Agility from Glalie, going to increase its speed by 2 stages. Not a bad shout there. Let yourself get some licks in early on the next turn, and Runerigus must recharge, so Glalie knew it was safe that turn, and it could do that stat boost, which allows it probably to move. Oh no, Froslass is still the fastest thing on the field, even with the +2 attack speed, I should say, on Glalie. Froslass is going to go for Inferno, though. Even more fire tactics coming out. Of course, they won't be super effective, but it's still massive damage to Cofagrigus and gets the burn as well. So no physical attacks from Cofagrigus are going to do much at all. Glalie's going to go Will-O-Wisp, but Cofagrigus is already burned, so they already had a contingency plan right there, just in case they didn't get the burn off that Inferno. Here's Stone Edge, which is super effective from Cofagrigus, though, but halved with that burn. But it's... Oh, I was going to say, but it's still enough to take out Glalie, but Glalie just survives. You've got to think that burn paid dividends right there. And here is Confusion from Runerigus onto Froslass. If that would have been Glalie, you would have taken one of your opponents out of contention. That was a big mistake there by Runerigus. Cofagrigus hurt by the burn, getting even closer to being knocked out. So this is a very even third round for these two teams of Pokemon who are both vying to get into the semi-finals of Metromania. Froslass shakes off the confusion. What's it going to do now that it's got its full Psyche back together? Goes for Reflect type. Interesting play there. So it's changed itself to a pure Ghost type. No longer has that Ice type on it. Very interesting there. Glalie's fully paralyzed. Cannot move at all. Over to Cofagrigus now, who has an opportunity here. Goes for Draining Kiss onto which of the Pokemon there? Goes for the Pokemon with more HP. Smart play there, because it takes a big chunk of HP from Froslass, and it wouldn't have taken much at all from Glalie. So that was a great play for some staying power there from Cofagrigus. Here's Runerigus, and of course that was dishing some parting shot, but it's not going to leave the battlefield. So it's going to lower the attack and special attack of Froslass there by 1 stage apiece, but it's not going to leave the battlefield because there's nothing in reserve. There's the burn damage to Cofagrigus. Glalie must be scared, sitting there with so little HP and potentially fully paralyzed. Here's Froslass, ready, willing, and able. What will it do? Going to go for Disable. Speaking of which, onto Runerigus, which is super detrimental because Froslass knows that Cofagrigus is going to be knocked out by the burn soon, and now Runerigus can't use Metronome at all. It will have to struggle itself potentially to death. Here's Volt Tackle from Cofagrigus, which comes with recoil damage. So a last-ditch effort to take down Froslass. Dealt a bit of chip damage there. Damaged itself with recoil. Runerigus can't move. Cofagrigus takes burn damage. Glalie a sitting duck right now. Runerigus can only struggle though. So this is going to be a very interesting couple of turns right here, because will Runerigus' struggle be enough to keep it going? Will Cofagrigus be able to deal any damage on the next turn before it departs because of the burn? Here is Froslass, though, who is going to go for Iron Defense. It knows struggle is coming. I don't think struggle is affected by defense, by stat boost, is it? I'm not sure. I know it's not affected by typing because it's basically typeless, so it'll hit ghost types. Here's Glalie, though, with Iron Tail. Avoided by Cofagrigus because that evasiveness boost. Very great play early by Cofagrigus. Cofagrigus is going to go for Fury Cutter onto Glalie, taking Glalie out of contention and basically saying, I know I'm going to be knocked out this turn by the burn, but Runerigus, don't you worry. You've got that struggle. You've got this, my dude. Just survive. Struggle didn't do much to Froslass at all there, but it did swap Runerigus' mummy with Wandering Spirit. Sorry, Froslass's mummy with Wandering Spirit from Runerigus. Cofagrigus barely hanging on here. Froslass in a lot of danger, and Runerigus not dealing much damage at all with that struggle, but dealing 25% of its own max HP to itself in recoil damage. Here comes Froslass, who's going to go for Spikes, which is a wasted turn there. That could have cost them the semi-finals. Let's see how this turn plays out. Runerigus has no moves left. It's going for struggle. It's not enough damage to take down Froslass, but it is massively down with the recoil damage. So Runerigus needs to take out Froslass on its next turn. Here's Hail, which is going to damage Runerigus and damage Cofagrigus and not damage Froslass at all. Luckily for Cofagrigus and Runerigus, Froslass can't have the benefit of Snowcloak. Froslass is in danger. It's very close to being knocked out. Runerigus, if it hits one more struggle, might be able to take down Froslass before it knocks itself out, unless Froslass does something to restore its own HP or to take out Runerigus on the next turn. So Froslass's next move basically guarantees who wins this match, I reckon. Here's Froslass, who's going to go for Flame Charge. Is that going to be enough to take down Runerigus? It's so close. 12 hit points off that critical hit, but it's not enough. There's the speed boost, but I don't think Froslass is going to survive long enough. Runerigus, user struggle. Is it? It is enough. And down goes Froslass at the last possible opportunity. Cofagrigus and Runerigus are moving on to the semi-finals. Our first semi-finals are Cofagrigus and Runerigus. What a fantastic trio of battles right there. And here's how the brackets are looking right now. Congratulations to Cofagrigus and Runerigus. Tune in next week as Braviary and Mandibuzz take on Flapple and Appleton.
So that'll do it for another episode of Metromania. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to support the channel like these lovely people down here, do pledge to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/AceTrainerLiam and save money on G Fuel. Use code ACE. But until next time, I'm Ace Trainer Liam. Keep on training.